Hello, my name is Mike George, founder of Strong America Now. The brief video you're about to watch will cover the basics of attending the Iowa Caucus, where the process of electing our next president begins. We all know that things in this country have gotten off track the last few years, and that out-of-control spending in Washington must be reined in for our economy to be restored and for the American dream to be realized for future generations. A recent Gallup poll showed that the American people believe that half of all government spending is waste and fraud, but the politicians in Washington do nothing. President Reagan's former budget director, David Stockman, recently commented that we have a here and now problem, that a crisis is coming in the next 2 or 3 years. This, my friends, is why we must act now. I want to thank you and the over 25,000 Iowans who've signed the Strong America Now pledge to only support a candidate for president who has demonstrated a commitment to implementing waste reduction measures in the federal government. Strong America Now goals are very simple. We seek to educate the American public that 25% of all federal spending is waste, including Medicare and Medicaid. We can remove this waste without removing the benefit of government services. There are 50 case studies on the Strong America Now website that proves we can eliminate the deficit in 2017 by removing this waste. We're confident this can be done without raising taxes, without making cuts to Social Security and Medicare that so many Americans depend on in their retirement years. Our efforts to date have largely been centered on the upcoming Iowa Caucus on January the 3rd. By attending the caucus and voting to support a candidate who is committed to waste reduction, you and other patriotic Iowans will demonstrate to the nation that the time to restore fiscal sanity to our country is now. I hope you will find our video presentation helpful and informative. Thank you for your commitment to help restore prosperity to America.
Hi, I'm Kim Reynolds, Iowa's Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for offering your precious time to learn more about the rich tradition of the Iowa caucuses and discover how simple it is for you and your neighbors to participate in the important process to elect the next President of the United States. The Iowa caucuses are certainly unique. Unlike a primary, municipal, or general election, the caucuses bring neighbors together in their town halls, libraries, churches, and their schools to participate in the crucial process of helping to select nominees to seek to become our next president. Attending your local precinct caucus is simple, and this video will show you just how easy it is for you to become involved in the election process. After watching this video, I hope you will encourage friends and family members to join you at your precinct caucus on January 3rd. It is a remarkable and important civic process where we have the privilege to exercise our rights and freedoms in choosing our next president. But these rights and freedoms are only as strong as those who choose to participate, and I believe that each one of us has a responsibility to become engaged in choosing our leaders when so much is at stake. Now is the time for Iowans to answer the call to action and to ask those who wish to be president to eliminate our deficit, curb high unemployment, and protect important programs like Medicare. Our country's future and the future of our children and our grandchildren are at stake. Today, you've taken the first step in helping to protect our liberty. Take the next step on January 3rd and participate in the Iowa Caucus. Thank you.
It's been said that to understand presidential politics, you must first understand the Iowa Caucus.
And because we're a caucus state, we have the opportunity to look in the eyes of every single presidential candidate. We have the opportunity to shake their hand, feel their sincerity, determine whether or not we believe in what's in their soul.
We all know that America faces tremendous challenges, and the fact that we as Iowans have an opportunity to start changing that discussion and changing that direction is something that millions and millions of Americans all across the country would jump at that opportunity.
The Iowa Caucus is politics on the neighborhood level. Precinct meetings that will happen this year on January 3rd in homes, churches, and businesses across Iowa.
Well, one of the great things when you're at a caucus site is you're at a local venue. It could be the local firehouse, the community center, a school building. And when you walk in, you're going to recognize people from your neighborhood, from church, who share the exact same concerns about the direction of America. So it really is a very comfortable feeling, and it shouldn't be intimidating to any Iowan that's never caucused before. Because what you're going to do is you're going to talk to those friends and neighbors who are like-minded and have a concern for the future of our country and really want to make their voice heard in a way no other citizen has, other than folks right here in Iowa.
Unlike other elections, at the caucus you don't just vote and leave. You meet your neighbors face to face. It's a chance to discuss and debate the issues, or just listen.
And you don't have to speak. That's what I was afraid of going, that I was going to have to speak or say something, and you don't. You can just listen and learn. And I feel it's an opportunity to get the views of many other people. So, you know, if you're not solid on who you're voting for, you may change your mind, or it may help you realize that you are right in what you believe.
In order to vote at a caucus, you must be 18 years old by November 6, 2012, and be a resident of Iowa. If you're not registered to vote, just prove who you are and where you live, and you can register when you get there. You need to attend the caucus in your precinct. A full list of meeting places by precinct is listed in the newspaper or online at iowagop.org. Each caucus follows an agenda, including discussion of party objectives, voting for delegates, and a few minutes is given to a representative of each presidential candidate. After the presidential vote is taken, you can stay for party business.
Okay, we're at that point now where we're actually going to let you folks speak on the behalf of the candidate that you so passionately support. This is an exciting part of the caucus. And so the first person I'm going to ask is there someone, I know that Greg wanted to speak on behalf of Congresswoman Bachmann. Greg, would you just stand up and let us know why you're supporting Congresswoman Bachmann and why you think those of us in this room should support her as well?
Yeah, I think Ms. Bachmann has been...
2012 is an election where we can't take chances. We have to have a nominee who's going to mean what they say and say what they mean. That's what you get with my candidacy. I have a core of conviction and a lifetime of a proven record of being tested in the lion's den of Washington, D.C., and tested in the lion's den of real life. I'm a woman who has stood by her convictions, and that's what we're going to need. An extremely strong president, someone who can stand up against the big spending interests in Washington. I've done it. Somebody who's going to stand up against crony capitalism in Washington, D.C. I've done it. Somebody who's going to stand up and be your voice in Washington, D.C., and I've done it. Of all of the candidates in this race, no one has stood up for you like I already have in Washington, D.C. I get the problems in Washington. I've been there fighting on these Lean Six Sigma solutions, and that's why you know with me, we don't need to guess. We don't need to wonder. With Michelle Bachmann, you get what the package says, and that's why I need to be your nominee for 2012. I'll stand for you, and now I'm asking you, stand with me.
I'm Newt Gingrich, and I want to thank you for what you're doing as a good citizen. The work of Strong America Now has brought into public life a set of big ideas faster than any group I can remember. And now, with the caucus coming up, you have a chance to get the whole nation's attention. Virtually every news organization in the country is going to be right here in Iowa. They're going to be looking to see what happens, who turns out, who are they for, what issues motivate them. So you have a chance to talk to the whole country by going to your local caucus. That's how important it is. That's why for years the Iowa caucuses have been so important in setting the initial stage for what we talk about in a presidential campaign. In addition, as a citizen, you have a chance to say thank you to all of the Iowans who went overseas in the National Guard, for all the young men and women who are serving their country right now, risking their lives for freedom. You have a chance on one evening to show that citizenship matters and that you're willing to sacrifice a few hours to help your country. That's what going to the caucus means. It means you're participating as a citizen, doing the right thing, and that's so important to America's future. In addition, if you can get your family and your friends to go, if you can get your children and grandchildren to see that being a good citizen is a good thing, You're helping renew and rebuild the country that we love. So I want to encourage you, Strong America Now is a big idea. It could save up to $500 billion a year in federal spending, getting us back towards a balanced budget. But even more than that, being involved in the caucus is a morally correct thing to do, whoever you happen to be for. Now, I will admit, I hope you'll decide to be with me and decide that together we can change Washington. But whoever you decide to be for, I hope you'll participate in the caucus, because that's the American way and that's the Iowa way.
Hi, I'm Rick Perry, Governor of Texas and Republican candidate for President in 2012. This election, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to end Washington's culture of waste, and it all starts with the Iowa caucuses. Establishment politicians want you to believe that Washington can be fixed with a pair of tweezers. Well, I believe it's going to require a complete overhaul. We need lower taxes, less spending, and a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. If Congress doesn't get it done, I say let's cut their salaries in half. As governor, I put Lean Six Sigma to work in my home state. It's time for Washington to embrace the same approach, which has proven to work in the private sector. But that can only happen if Iowa caucus goers choose a nominee with the courage to stop the gravy train of bureaucrats, lobbyists, and special interests feeding at the government trough. America's counting on you. Now let's make America, America again. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.
One of the most critical problems facing this country is a bloated federal government that is wasting money and is just using up huge amounts of taxpayer resources and costing us to go literally hundreds of billions of dollars in debt. We must do something to get the government to be leaner and more efficient, to spend those dollars more responsibly, as well as to shift a lot of the federal government's responsibilities back to the states and frankly get rid of them completely. One best idea that I've heard out there to get this ball rolling is to implement sound business practices that can be applied to the federal government to squeeze out that fraud, to squeeze out that waste, and to create the kind of efficiencies that we have seen happen in the private sector to make us here in America continuing to be competitive. That's what Strong America Now has brought to the table with the Lean Six Sigma idea. I have committed to implementing Lean Six Sigma and to working with the folks at Strong America Now to implement those programs in the federal government to make sure that the taxpayers are getting real value for their dollars, as well as finding out what is working, what is not, and making sure that the things are not are cut, and the things that are working are working even better after this program.
The Iowa caucuses are very important. They're very unique because it gives an opportunity to all of us to compete, whether we're rich or poor or have a lot of money, because it's very democratically oriented. But it's also the first real test vote for the election coming up next year. So it's a wonderful opportunity for everybody in Iowa to participate, and their vote in many ways counts more than the average vote because the caucus is small compared to an overall election. So percentage-wise, it's much more valuable. But it is also a reflection of organization and opportunity, and invites everybody to get involved. It's really a unique experience to see how it works. It really brings out the best of the democratic process. So I would just like to conclude that I ask for your support to come out to the caucuses, vote for the candidate who has defended liberty for so long, vote for the candidate who emphasizes peace, vote for the candidate who emphasizes balanced budget and a sensible foreign policy, a sensible economic policy, because it is under freedom that prosperity comes about, when you have more prosperity and we can take care of the needs of people. It's when the government gets involved and they disrupt the economy that you end up with recessions, and you can't do this without addressing the subject of the Federal Reserve System and monetary policy. If we do that, we can solve our problems. We can get back on our feet rather quickly. And I thank you very much.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of former Governor Mitt Romney? No, I don't see anyone here speak on behalf of Governor Romney. Okay. Now is the time for the really telling part of our caucus. This is when we're going to find out who all of you support and have a winner.
When it's time to vote, you'll write your choice for President of the United States on a piece of paper, fold it, and drop it into a hat or box. And then the counting begins.
There. I'm going to ask you guys to count these ballots for us. Take a tally so that you can report back. But we want to make sure that the integrity of the process is intact. So if there's any people here that are representing a particular candidate that want to go back to that table and watch the counting of the votes, we ask you to do that.
These votes are not binding. The delegates to the National Convention don't have to nominate the candidate who wins the caucus, but the results will have a substantial impact on who wins that nomination. As the votes are called in, the nation waits.
For those of you who have never been to an Iowa caucus, I think it's probably important for us to let you know how this reporting process works. Russ, who's acted as one of our tellers and wrote our totals down, he will now call to the state headquarters, and they've got a particular number that's been set up for this process. And he's going to call and he's going to tell them how many votes we cast in our precinct for each of the candidates. Okay, Russ, if you would now take a minute, grab your phone and call in the totals for our Washington precinct for the 2012 presidential caucus.
Yes, this is
After the presidential vote is taken, you can stay for party business. Some argue it's a quirky system, but few dispute its importance. A win in the Iowa caucus can launch a virtually unknown candidate or stop a front runner. Candidates know Iowa can make you or break you.
I think it's the first step in getting involved. It's the first part of the process.
I've always been interested in public affairs and have attended every caucus since 1964.
Go to a caucus. Go. It's important. It's fun. It's easy. Just go and sit and listen, and then your vote matters. It does. So.
Some people believe this election cycle is the most important since 1860. Our nation, according to many Americans, is at a historic turning point. Iowans have a unique opportunity to participate in the January 3rd caucus and influence the direction of our nation.